There are citizens who have different knowledge, different cultural practice. So you need to coexist with those people and bring those people in the same way that you are thinking. And that is the only way you can capable other people. That is the only way you can have a common understanding about security and development. And that is the way you can make the society functional. So, the importance of cross-cultural negotiation, the importance of cultural adjustment is something very unique in his presentation. And I guess all of you understood that we may see something, but we understand differently. We always carry the baggage of our identity, of our culture, of our practice, of our religion, of our country, even the environment. So that means we are limited in many senses. We are carrying a lot of thinking. Some people think in seeing the same picture. It's an animal, it's a bird, it's a human, it's a woman, it's an old woman, it's a young woman. So that is the way how our socialization actually matters a lot in terms of understanding the security. Why you need to understand all this psychological pattern, all this cross-cultural negotiation, all this development aspect? Why? Because once you want to have a clear policy, once you have to have something very operational, you really need to understand the people. And that's why when we said about all this thing in those 5 sessions, basically we wanted to have a clear understanding that these things are important once you're talking about human security. Because human security is policy aspect. It's not enforceable, but it's a process-driven paradigm. Clear? So, then we had a break. We went for another session. And Mr. Med was there. Dr. Med came with clear idea about the trafficking. Why we bring trafficking then? I mean, we could have brought other issues, no? We could have brought indigenous community, minority, disabled, but that is the thing we did last year. So this year we wanted to see more on the issue that touches the development aspect, the issue that touches the policy aspect of a country when they are dealing particularly on development policy, which is more applicable side. So Med come with his brilliant presentation with his long experience, I rather say, and all the situation of Southeast Asia particularly, and the normative aspect, that is the mechanism, how it implement when the trafficking is concerned, how it implement, when the slavery is concerned, then how it implement. And he gave a clue to the Burmese migrant worker issue, and he also gave a clue to the Cambodian situation, the Cambodian migrant worker. And that led to the field trip. And when we went there, we clearly see that this is not only the worker who are there, but their family, but their kids. They are also subject to the same kind of situation. And where security is concerned, it is more difficult when the stateless people is there. And how you deal with those stateless people? What is the role of NGO or institution or even the state? I think you got some sort of clear idea even by observing the situation there. Visiting the center or visiting the drop center or visiting the fish market. So it all recall or all demands or inspiration to learn the security situation in terms of application. And that leads us to the next day when we had more clear understanding about the mechanism when Humayun Alijada was there. And he actually gave a clear idea about the mechanism on international level, regional level. From his long working experience, he gave us idea how international mechanism, particularly UN, because that is somewhere we have a consensus, is working. So, by giving that idea, I think you enjoyed the session a lot. By giving that idea, we focused again some sort of approach, which is non-violence approach. Non-violence approach is something that worked, that functioned, and that has some proven result before in the world. But there's also a lot of debate. So non-violence approach, does it work only in the political situation, or it works in the institutional situation, or it has some sort of impact on arms? So that is something was very clear, I guess. And you also learned the impact of violence, war, arms, and even the smallest decision in the world body, how it affects the large number of the life in the world. So that is something we thought more clearly in terms of human security application. which actually helped us to have our own group presentation, which actually helped us to understand our program, if it is in terms of national security, if it is in terms of urban development or primary non-formal education or indigenous communities, right? So all these things help you to understand, at least to talk, at least to think a bit on those 4 points. And I guess you come up with your presentation. Even then, there are some, I rather say there are some overlaps, some other issues missing, or something may not be appropriate. But that is somewhere we have to begin, we have to start with. We have to start with our own idea that already we are having. And that's something leads us to Dr. Mike Hayes, who told and I guess he cleared the idea about the refugee, migration, trafficking, what are the differences? And how all these 3 things actually working by different set of norms, different set of international mechanism. And interestingly, when we are talking about all these 3 different things, these works differently when you interpret differently. And even the slightest miss in terms of the process can leave a huge result for the person and big community. And that's something we need to really think about. What happens if IDP is concerned? Are they less vulnerable than refugees? Do you think the greater number of IDPs, those are basically increasing when the internal conflict is concerned? And post-colonial and post-Cold War period, all the wars are basically internal conflict. Yeah? That means you have growing number of IDPs. Those are within the country. But are they dealing by a specific set of law? So that's something we thought. I think we need to really think about them seriously, how we can include those things in the mechanism aspect. And I think that helps us to the next session when the notion of capability approach came by Dr. Amartya Sen, which is much debatable, I rather say, but there's also a lot of potentials. And we have to understand that these are the things that shapes the world. So we have to know when the distribution method is applicable rather than the resource, the constraint method. So you don't have resource. People always want to stay. But your distribution process is faulty. That's why people who are really in need, they don't get the resource. And they can't come out from their poverty or their needs. So that means there are a lot of things to think about, even within the system, even within the policy, even within the state mechanism and the organization, which actually helped us to think a little bit about a specific organization, which is ASEAN. Because you cannot take a lot of organization in this small course. So we need to take an example. ASEAN is the one organization that took human security more comfortably rather